I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda will be approval of the agenda. Is there any modification, changes, or additions? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
First thing up, public comments. Courtney James. Okay. We'll skip on down. Next item up is going to be the minutes from 7/16/2024. Is there any addition, changes, modifications to those minutes?
I make the motion.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
The next item up is the minutes from 7/19/2024.
I make the motion.
I'll second that
We have a
motion.
motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next one up is Al Malone, vehicle lease and vehicle issues.
Good morning. So I hope you guys got my email that I sent. I know it's been sent out several times. So as you know, for the last 3.5 years, we've had a lease for 5 vehicles, 5 Dodge Rams. And that is coming to an end in February of next year. So all year I've been trying to figure out what we're going to do, what direction we're going to take once these leases options are up. So right now we have 2 options. One option is we can take these Dodge Rams and trade them in, and they're worth about $18,000 each. This value would be added to the lease. Or we can keep these 5 trucks, buy the rate remaining of the lease for about $3,820 each vehicle. The total of that will be $15,280. If you look at our current lease, we're in good shape, but we're getting to a point where they're out of warranty and everything like that. I just feel that I'm going to ask you guys to approve, to go to the council we go forward to trade in those 5 trucks, as well as trade in 3 to 4 other vehicles with that. What that will do is that'll put 8 to 9 brand new vehicles on the road for, if you do the 3 years, it's going to be if you do the 8 vehicles to trade them in, it's going to be $60,991. But if you go down to 4 years, you can do the 8 of the vehicles is $53,556. Or if you go the 4-year lease, you can trade in 9 of them, and the cost will be $62,855.05 per year.
Per each vehicle, correct?
Yes, that's going to put 9 brand new vehicles out on the road, ready to go. Some of the 5, and I like the way Dodge did do this. The current, the screen, the lights, the console, everything can go from one vehicle, the old one, into the new one. We can also use some of the lights and sirens and things like that from the old vehicles. So we're not looking at a whole lot, but we're looking up the upfits and things like that. It's going to cost us about $40,000 to do all that. I would be able to pay for that possibly at a commissary. if this goes through and we get those 9 vehicles, again, the oldest vehicle that we're gonna have that's on the road every day is gonna be a 2023 or 2023. Or a K9. I just think it's time that I like the lease option a lot. Again, you're putting 9 vehicles out there with full warranty. Right now, they're $100,000 powertrain. They are 30,000. 30, yes. I just think I think that's the way to go. I would need to get your all's approval to get rid of those said vehicles. I would like to go to 9 instead of 8 to get rid of some of those. We can take those out of the fleet and trade those all in.
So these 5 Dodge Rams that you have now are out of warranty?
Yes, they are out of warranty.
What kind of warranty or on the lease? Can you get an extended warranty on the lease?
No, it's $100,000 powertrain, but it's 3 years, 36,000.
So what do these current ones have that you have in that lease fleet now? Are they 100,000
They're
powertrain?
on the powertrain.
Same as what you're buying then?
Yes.
It's the same. So if I'm understanding this correctly, 15,000 would buy us 5 vehicles?
Yes,
15,288.
Okay, and they got approximately 60,000 miles on them?
yes, but you gotta remember, these are everyday use in a police capacity.
And they've got a warranty yet to 100,000 miles.
The powertrain, yes.
Okay. Same as what the new ones you're proposing are.
Mhm.
And if I understand correctly, the lease, in essence, we buy those vehicles either way, and then they're just traded in,
Mhm.
is what we have to do, even on the new lease. Correct?
No, if we buy them
So in
now,
other words, we don't have to buy them?
you're only paying like $3,000 each.
I'll take one.
Oh, we got one sold.
No,
No, I know, but they're getting you an 18.
We're gonna keep them. If we trade them in, we would keep them.
Right.
But I just don't feel that's the way to go, simply because these are everyday used, and we're gonna start getting to a point, the longer we keep them, the less you're gonna value on them when you go to trade them in.
So what's your expectations on the new lease group? They have a 100,000 mile powertrain warranty on them, but are you looking to trade off the new ones then? Let's say you got a complete fleet of 5.
Yes, I wanna trade the
You want
5.
to trade those off at 60,000 miles whenever you're done with that lease too? I'm talking about 4 years down the road or 3 years.
I won't be here 4 years. I do wanna.
I won't be here either, but we need to plan for 4 years.
And I agree, and that's why I wanna put it in good shape before I leave.
Yeah. But my question is, are we going to be repeating this same cycle
If I had,
where we're looking to trade off 60,000 mile vehicles? That would be my question.
I would love to see that happen down the road,
So the
60 to
100,000,
70.
I think that was intent 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when we was talking about this, that try to keep the new fleet. I know it's gonna be payment every year, but we've got new vehicles for public safety. And I know from my business at home, if you let things, I guess you could say, kick the can down the road financially, one day that'll catch up with you.
And I think it's catching up with some of our older.
Because once you get everything on, the highway's kind of going through that right now, everything's getting wore out at one time, and can we afford to buy it all? Sometimes we say, well, we can't afford it now. We can't afford not to sometimes. That's my opinion. I've supported the lease 3 years ago, and I'll support it again now, just because it's more than just vehicles. It's a morale booster for our officers out here in the field every day, that the leadership feels like it's important to keep them in new vehicles for their safety and the public safety out there. So, and at the end of the day, a new vehicle can break down, but there's less of a chance. That's kind of where I stand, and I'll support either the 3 or the 4 year recommend from Alan here, recommendation.
I would hope you would support the 9 vehicles instead of the 8. The 9 would put us in great shape. 8 would be perfect, great, but the 9 would be more feasible for us.
See, part of the problem I can see is exactly what Randy said. In 3 or 4 years, whatever it is, we're gonna be looking at 9 vehicles. 9 vehicles. We're gonna have them all. We'll be right back at all of them now having miles and now having to address it. Whereas if we had some type of an established program where we're buying a couple, 2 or 3 vehicles a year, we get a little bit of planning here, then it's not, or we budget and set aside money. Those are our two challenges, however we do this. And one of the reasons the buyout's so cheap, now correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, is because under that lease, you had unlimited mileage, and the vendor calculated that you would put lots and lots of miles on them. And now all of a sudden, these vehicles are in the 60,000 mile range, and he can sell them easily. And so now he's willing to give you 18,000, but the county actually paid for a higher lease over that period of time because of the unlimited mileage clause. Are you getting quotes on unlimited mileage on your new pricing?
I'm pretty sure that he did do it unlimited. I'm not for sure. He was supposed to be here today, but he's on vacation.
So we potentially could have a lower lease if he would say, we have a fixed mileage of 60,000 miles, 70,000, whatever it is. It'd be a lower lease value.
What is the major things that are going wrong with the trucks?
The trucks, we have not had any problem. The only problem we had was an oil pressure. One engine has been replaced. Out of five, yes.
The engine has been replaced?
Portion of the components did.
Under warranty.
The camshaft, yeah. It went bad somehow and it was under warranty and no problems at all. They fixed it. I just think, I agree with what you said. These guys have been through a lot, and to keep their vehicles in great condition, I think that is a good booster for them. Over the weekend, they did great over the weekend with the stuff we had going on at Rainbow Pay Lake, and then we had the shooting out there. I mean, these guys, you got to be available. These vehicles have to be available to roll anytime that we need. And I'm just getting tired of these vehicles, some of these older vehicles. We got some older ones that are just breaking down. I don't think that's fair to my guys to be, every time they're calling us to say, hey, we got an issue with our vehicles. I would like to see us put them in a great condition. And that way they're going to be under warranty.
And my tendency right now, the county's paying a substantial amount of money to Baker Tilly to do something with the budget, and the council's in the middle of that process, if I'm not correct, right now, to determine where they are. I think we need to wait to see how that kind of shakes out. What I would like you to do, though, is when you come in here with 9, we have 5 of them that's relatively new. The other 4 I know are older and got a lot of miles on them. I would like to see those old ones hit the road.
If you look, they're not worth anything. So
Well, too bad. They're junk, though. That's why you're getting the price you're getting out of them. They're too many miles, they're old, they need
So
to
which
go.
way would you like me to go? I mean, I gave you guys months and months and months ago another plan, and it never went anywhere. I know you two were here during that time. I need to figure out what we're going to do with these vehicles. I don't think it's fair to my guys have no idea what's going to happen with these vehicles.
I think within probably a month or 2, the council will have seen where their budget is.
We can do a lot more than
How they're gonna, there's
what
tax
funds we have to
arrangements
deal
we're
with.
trying to change.
And that's why I came to the commissioners to get permission to get rid of them. So that's what I'm asking from you.
But we're not gonna get rid of them, though.
Well, to trade them in or.
Yeah, because
But the
those
council
vehicles-
would go ahead and give us if they would do the funding. I'm just asking you guys to be able to do this. Without you guys, I was told that I can't even go forward anymore without this.
I think we have to see if we got money to support it. I mean, I think that falls back on the council, but
Right. But I would need your all.
we are going, those vehicles at $3,000, slightly more than that each, the county is going to buy those. Then we can trade them in on a lease, or we can drive them either way. But
So
we're
you said, say that again, the county's gonna buy one?
they're gonna buy those trucks at that price.
For 3,000.
I mean, we're gonna buy, then we can either we either drive them or we trade them in for another lease. But we're not gonna let the
You know-
vendor have those vehicles at that kind of money.
So that's the decision. I mean, it's frustrated as the sheriff not knowing any of this.
I mean, we'd be foolish not to do that. What we've done is we've overpaid for a lease for a period of time here, brought the value of that vehicle down to a $3,000 price for us to turn it back into the dealership. He'd grin from ear to ear thinking, I just made 15 grand on every one of these trucks in Perry County traded in. So we're gonna have to purchase them, and then we're gonna either trade them in on a lease, trade them in on a purchase, we'll drive them a year, or whatever that decision becomes, depending on what kind of funding is available. But we're gonna, I mean, we'd be foolish not to buy them because we've paid so much.
Mr. Carr, I was told to come to this meeting to get the permission to go forward that because they take care of the funding. So I guess if I don't get the blessing from you all, it stops here. So then I'll have to come back in front of you guys to get permission to move forward with this. So I mean,
If we give you the blessing to spend $1 million and the council.
come on, let's be realistic.
Okay, whatever that number is,
Let's just be
$1,000.
realistic for a
Okay,
second.
$1,000. And the council then goes through their process with Baker Tilly and arrives at available funding.
Okay.
What have we done? I think we need to give them, they're spending like $30,000 with Baker Tilly, to try to do their budgeting this year. And I think, depending on what they do with their taxation and this process, I'm hopeful they're gonna have more funds available once this is completed.
So how am I supposed to work this then? If the budget, if the council says they'll do it, then I have to come back to you guys again, to get permission to do that, or what's the process here?
If the council comes up, you know, what I would do is probably treat this like you would a budget item. Put it in your budget, what your preferred plan is. And then the council has those numbers. They'll go through the process to determine if funding's there. And if there's funding there, I think that's one of our big obstacles, is that we can pay for it. So I think that'll play itself out here shortly.
Yeah, I think, you know,
Well, what we could do, we can approve the 8 or the 9 year, the 3 or the 4 year. I would support the 4 year at least. And if the council sees funding, it's happened. If not, we'll have to come back.
but do you know if the council won't know until Baker Tilly's done with the budget?
Yes, but if it's in Alan's budget and it sits there until the council,
And the other issue I will have is, we've waited so long now, I don't know if I can even get the vehicles. So I'm gonna try to get the vehicles, hopefully they're gonna rush it for us. But we waited so long that,
You won't be able to commit to getting your vehicles until you've got funding to pay for them, though.
well, I don't know that originally I was not gonna ask out of the budget for next year, I was gonna ask for now.
You were gonna ask for additional appropriations now?
I was gonna have to, but
Why would you have to ask for it now?
because I gotta be able to order these vehicles and get them in.
How long does it take to get a vehicle in?
On these new vehicles? From experience, months.
And the lease is up in February, correct?
Mhm.
That's
But they've
7
agreed,
months.
to work out a deal as far as if they don't come in by then, in February.
Agreed to work out a deal for what?
If it does, if we're gonna trade them in,
Mhm.
then we're gonna keep, they're not gonna take our 5 vehicles and say, okay, these are gone. They're gonna let us keep them until the new vehicles will come in to cover those 5 that we
Right.
traded in,
Well, you have to have them.
So are these 24s or 25s?
24s.
So you're buying 24s on a lease?
They're 20, yes, they'd be on the lease.
I don't know what the,
So what's the impact if, let's see, this is the 1st of August, you have to have your budget, finished October 1st?
October 12th is the final reading
When
and
it has to
approval.
be in.
And it has to be submitted by October 17th.
Okay, and you have to have, basically, September is when you do all the crunching.
Yes.
So we're looking at roughly a little like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, is this gonna be devastating if you don't do anything for 6 weeks?
Probably not. But just doing our best.
I mean, if we need to have, if for some reason they come up with $1 million, everything's lovely,
Yeah, we
we can have a special
meeting.
meeting. I
Really.
mean, that's not a big deal. But I just think,
I just hope the sheriff's office receives the support we need to put reliable vehicles on this road. And be, I have to be responsible for those calls when they break down or we can't get to a call. You know, that's what I don't want.
and Alan, I'm going to speak for the council because I know what they're doing. They're currently trying to change the tax structure so that your facility gets proper funding.
Okay, that's great.
It's not too popular. They're getting a lot of heat over it.
Then I have nothing but the vehicles though.
It's for operations.
Right.
It's public safety.
Right.
They're shifting that to public safety, so there's funding there.
That part of there's none of
So-
my business. Oh,
so-
yes, I agree.
Yes, it is part of it.
Yeah, it is,
Yes,
there
it
is
is.
some funding.
But at that one point, has anybody even come to the sheriff of Perry County to relay this kind of information to me?
It's been out there.
Yeah, it has, but nobody has sat down with the sheriff. No, there was no communication whatsoever with me.
It's simply what they're
I've not been
trying.
approached one time.
Would you be opposed to additional funding for your sheriff's department?
Sheriff's office?
Okay.
No.
I wouldn't think so either. That's probably, they took that for granted. You'd be okay with it. So that's what they're trying to do.
And I appreciate,
They have to go through the process to see where this all shakes out.
as the sheriff, it'd be nice to know these kind of things, because nobody has approached me whatsoever. Nobody.
It's into their end of it where they do their financing. I mean, they,
But as a sheriff, I feel like that kind of stuff's been relayed to me. I hope you agree.
When are they having a meeting? When are they having?
they're
a
having it
meeting?
here Tuesday.
Tuesday. There'll be a meeting tomorrow.
You're right, during National Night Out.
Yeah.
Okay. So we done? We gonna,
Okay with giving them the chance, table it for,
I say this is very important, not only to the sheriff's department, to the whole county. Because I live out in the county, and what I see out of the county is our deputies patrolling the highway. And they're there for our safety, there for first responders. Because a lot of times when there's a incident, they're the first ones there, not the first responder. They are the first responders a lot of times. We have to support them, us and the council both. And I'm 100% for this lease, because I was 3 years ago when we started this, just because, yes, it might cost us a little more money, but they got new vehicles every 3 to 4 years. I had a little, probably shouldn't say this, but a couple weeks ago I was over in another state, and I ain't gonna say the state, we'll get in a political world here, but I had vehicle trouble and a state trooper stopped. And while my vehicle was being fixed, put a battery in it, I was just talking to the state trooper. And his vehicle had 180,000 miles. And he said, the state's got no plan for replacing them. That's terrible. He said they got money to fix it, because he just had a catalytic converter put in. For a first responder, a state trooper with 180,000 miles, we don't want to be like that state, not in this county. I thought that was just plumb terrible. Because we depend on all police officers.
no, Randy, when we talked, we did a 2-year, and that just wasn't be feasible, simply because the cost of moving from one vehicle to another. And that's why when Miss Harding was in here, maybe a 3 or 4, but I would like to see it going with a 4-year lease for those 9 vehicles.
see, and that's when, and I had read some information on other police districts that uses similar, like the 2-year turnover. The reason they do it because they have no service costs. And what they do is the vendor actually does everything, including tires, oil change, you've got the complete work. And it's a 2-year deal, and they bring those vehicles in, they change them out, they take them back, and they're guaranteed operational, is what they do. Now, one of the big problems is the lights, the changeover, these things,
Yeah.
the expense associated to it. And I think that was, of course, it was a bigger city that was having this done, and so they had some clout, but that's something I think we need to look at. I know you can retrofit your older trucks with the 24s, and that'll work. The next round we'll have to change them, but is there another alternative out there where we can get this lights and equipment over to these vehicles for less money?
I've been
Because
told Dodge was the only one that kept that. I wouldn't be able to take, if you want, I would love to go with Chevys or something, but Dodge was the only one that kept that the same, where those consoles will fit, the partition, the screens will fit, you know.
That's true. 2024, 2025 is.
Yeah.
That's the reason why.
25s are going to be a different
Yes.
models, what it amounts to. So we're actually buying an old fleet. And new technology, we're going to be skipping for another 3 or 4 years. And that's, I don't know if we should be doing that necessarily, because I don't know what the new technology is bringing, and maybe we want the new technology in our new trucks that we expect them to last. So those are some questions too. And I don't know whether we can come up with some type of a way, just like the ambulance went through this on the AEDs, where there's a way to put a bracket on to reuse existing, and whether there's something out there. And if we need to bite the bullet on new lights and something that becomes interchangeable or more uniform, easier to do, maybe we need to consider that too. I mean, some way to actually, and I'm in agreement with Randy, we don't want to put people out with junk equipment out on the road. We want to, but we need to have some type of an established plan, so you don't have to come back in here and do this again.
There's no
That's part
secret,
of it.
there's no secret, these deputies are rough on these vehicles, because they're starting and stopping and turning and speeding up and slowing down, but I really feel that this leasing 9 vehicles is gonna solve a lot of issues, not only for me, but whoever's next, who's up, it's gonna help them as well.
But I'm just thinking out loud here, and I haven't spent any time on this, but what would happen if we, for instance, took these 5 vehicles, purchased them, ran them a year, and leased 4 this year? Then waited another year and then leased 5. So we split some of these things up so we're not breaking our budget every cycle that these 9 vehicles come back up again. And actually set aside funding earmarked for vehicle repair. We know they're going to get miles. We know they're going to wear out. We know they're going to have to be replaced. And start to plan accordingly so that it doesn't come in and become a budget
I
issue.
just think it's fair to my guys that they have an idea of what's coming. And I feel that, you know, I've been trying to do this since the beginning of the year, and now to the point, you know, we have to do something quickly, and I feel that we have to do something quickly, because February is going to be here before we know it. And, you know, right now, do I think there's a need for the additional? Maybe not. But, you know, I need some kind of assurance that you guys are on our side, is trying to move forward with these vehicles. Right now, I just don't know that I'm getting that support that I need.
I think we're there. That, I think, my opinion, the more critical ones are the daily drivers that's got all the miles on them. Those things, you know, that's, you're putting the deputy in and she's got 110, 20, 30,000, whatever it is in that vehicle. I think that's the ones we really need to target rather than 60,000 miles. But that would be my first selection. If they're going out on the roads and you're dependent on those type vehicles, that's our first target, to get rid of them, replace them. And then if we have funding and it works out for the other ones, so be it. But that would be my approach on it. I'm just speaking for myself.
Yeah, 6 weeks, you said, Chris, and
Yeah, the department, or the council will start meeting with departments here the month of August. I'm guessing I'm going to get with the president, David Agent, this week and start scheduling those next for the remaining weeks after Schweitzer Fest week. And then we will have our work session September 19th, 20th, and 21st, if I believe that's correct. And then the adoption of the budget will be October 12th, and everything has to be submitted to the Department of Local Government Finance. I have to have everything submitted no later than October 17th. So that's kind of the timeline.
But pretty much in September, once you get through those budget sessions, you've kind of got a rough outline as to where you're at. So,
And public safety is in there.
Yeah.
Correct.
Big time.
So Alan, I got a question. If you go with the 4-year lease, what would you budget in your budget to pay that lease? Would that be the $62,000?
Must be $62,000.
$62,000 a year for the next 4 years.
And you have that already in the budget, 2025 budget.
62,
Yes, we'll put that.
855.
And that's not even a vehicle a year.
Is that where
If
we
you
put
think
it
about
two
it, if you had
different
to buy it.
places? We put it over
I'm
with
sorry, we
yeah,
put it in we put
one
that
place.
in one place.
that one in one place, okay.
And then there was 4 options to choose from. We chose in terms of our budget request, the highest one to give flexibility to be able
Okay.
to choose one or the other.
Yeah, okay, that's what I
So
thought.
let me get this clear. It's
$855.
$62,855 per year for the next 4 years to have 9 new vehicles.
That comes up to,
but you're not buying the vehicles, you're just leasing them. At
Yeah.
the end of that period of time,
You have the option.
they turn them back. But what is the option?
To
Buy them.
either
You know
buy
what
it
the,
out.
what is the
Or
buyout
turn 'em
option?
In a roundabout
They have
way,
you an amount of dollars?
How much that'd be worth?
Yes,
I
what
can't
the
tell you
buyout option
I can tell you
would
what
be.
they're worth now, but I can't
No,
tell
I'm
you
just
4 years
saying-
from now. I can't project 4 years from now.
Now, whenever they calculate, this is my understanding, when they calculate these leases, they base them upon how many miles you're gonna put on them, then the end salvage value, they come up with that calculation. And that's how come these vehicles can be bought for $3,000 each, because that's how they did it. I'm just curious as to what the buyout would be at the end of the 4-year lease that you're proposing.
I wish I could tell you, but I don't know.
The
Sorry.
vendor should be able to tell you
it
that.
might be worth asking. You know, he could give you a
He was
ballpark
supposed to be
figure.
here today, but I understand he had a vacation planned, and I understand that.
but on a,
Was it your understanding at the meeting that they were saying that they were going to, they were gonna give us 18,000, a little over 18,000 per truck if they bought it back?
Yep.
Then they're gonna take that money, put it as a down payment on this.
Well, that became, yeah. See that, you buy down a lease that way. So let's just say, for instance, there's 5 vehicles at 18,000. If it was 20,000, it'd be $100,000. So in essence, what they're doing, they're taking $100,000 of the cost off of the lease, then figuring it accordingly. The reason they're allowing the county to buy those trucks for $3,000 is because when the lease was originally put together, it was an unlimited mileage. And let's just say, for instance, you guys burn 50, 60, 70,000 miles a year, you'll have those trucks wore out. And that's why they said, the end of that lease, it'll be $3,000 is what the value will be. But they came down and looked at them, and you've got like 60,000 miles on them, and they're looking at them. And I'm gonna tell you, the trucks, deputies take care of their vehicles. I mean, they look good. He knows that, he sees that, he says, I can reach myself a decent profit off of them, so I'm going to share that higher value and use it against the lease as well.
And I know
So that's a fair way.
that's
to
in
do
their
it.
business, you know.
Yeah, that's, they're doing it. It's
If
fair.
it's
Yeah,
in their
Make-
business,
make the
I just feel,
So the question becomes, is it better to get 18,000 for them, or better to pay 15,000 for all 5?
Well, I think you're gonna have to, the way they'll do this transaction, either way it works, you're gonna have to buy out the vehicles. Then he will trade them back in against the lease. He won't just take them right from one lease to the other. It'll be, and maybe you'll never see that transaction, but he would be required to buy them out and then trade them in. So that's why when I say the county needs to buy them irregardless, whether we're driving them or whether we're trading them in on the lease, they're too good of vehicles to let go for $3,000 each.
but right now, they
Yeah.
are. But
And by January, I'll guarantee they will be too. They're in good shape. They're nice trucks. The one I want you to focus on are the old ones that's got too many miles on them and
I mean, and that's why I wanted to go with 9, and that way just about all of our fleet would be almost new. So
well, if you look at a long-range plan, would it be better now to do the 9 vehicles for 4 years? Then when the 4 years up, you're gonna have some with probably a whole lot less mileage on them. And do exactly what you're saying 4 years from now would be the time to do it. get rid of the high mileage cars, could be only half of them are the trucks, and keep the low mileage ones at that time. Then what you're doing there, you're splitting your lease back up again.
Right. You could do that now, though. See, you got 60,000 mile trucks that possibly you say, well, let's say we run them to the 100,000 mile warranty for the powertrain, and then we get rid of them. So we keep the fleet of 5, we buy them, we take the 4 that are in excess of that and lease them, purchase them, whatever we're gonna do. And then we'd have 4 vehicles that would be still suitable when these 5 became needing to move on.
rotation.
And that might be
Yeah,
a
it'll be
year,
worth-
it might be 2 years.
But-
And then say you'd have a split lease with it.
The ones making the lease come down, we'll keep them. I bet the lease per year on those 5 could be almost the same money.
You know,
We don't know that for sure, but I bet it's gonna be really
Well, I
close.
mean, they're not giving anything hardly for the 4.
That's what I
I
mean.
mean, and
It'll
there's
be a
a
full
reason.
lease at that
I
time.
got it right here, like, we want to trade in a 2020 Dodge Ram, a 2012 Dodge Ram, a 2018 Dodge Ram, and a 2011 Chevy Tahoe. And I've got the prices, they're gonna give 12,000, 7,000, 11,000, 4,000 for each one of those vehicles.
But the 11 and the 12, I mean, you're looking at 13-year-old vehicles. And what kind of mileage is on those?
Which
92.
ones? On the,
The 11s and the 12s.
on the 2020 Dodge Ram, we have, 99,000.
Yeah.
Probably more now, because it's been a couple weeks since I've done that.
On the 12, you got 92,000.
Those are the ones that need to be finding a new home.
Well, that's why I included those.
Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
But those are the ones, in my opinion, that are critical. And then the other ones, if we split this lease up between, but that needs to be a planning type thing, and we need to make sure there's funding set
And we
aside.
don't know what funding is
Okay.
going to come along with this.
Come back in 6 weeks.
So you're not gonna take a vote on it today? Yeah.
We can, I mean,
I was asking to do it for the 9.
I say we vote on it and send it to the council, because 62,000 is with our budget for public safety, for all deputies. I don't have a problem with that. And it gets us on a good rotation to start off with, and then we got the 4 years to plan, how do we want to do it? And I won't be here, but, you know, somebody will plan how to do it in 4 years to split that up a little bit more. You start off with a fresh slate. It's kind of what we wanted to do 3 years ago, and I think we need to stick to the plan. That's just my opinion. I've always been a big public safety, no matter if it's EMS, fire rescue, police.
So this,
I mean, if we want to promote Perry County, we want a safe county. And how you do that is fund our public safety. I mean, and they're there for us every day. So
we can always send it to the council, but I mean, it's just not, you know, until they come to an agreement on what they're doing right now. You could have the funding already and don't know it.
well, he's going to put it in his budget, and you said it's
He's
in
already
there.
got it in his budget.
yeah, but then he's also asking for additional appropriations for this year.
I said, if I had to, I was going to.
Oh.
I just said, you heard me, I didn't, I said we didn't have to do that. The additional.
I'll make a motion to go with the 4-year, 9 vehicle, 62,855. And if the council doesn't want to take a vote on it till budget time, at least it's got our approval. I really think it's that important.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second on the 4-year, I think, 9 vehicle purchase lease and the 62,000 and some change?
I like to see these old ones gone.
They will. A lot of them.
No, but I mean, first, I like to see all of them gone.
Hearing no second,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'd entertain a motion to table this until they get done with the council, get done with their budget. make them aware of what your needs are. I'm assuming you included that in the budget numbers. So we'll let that play out through the tax changes.
And Alan, if you
See where we
didn't
are.
know anything about the public safety stuff that they're doing, the council trying to move some money around, you probably need to get with one of the council members so they can explain it to you.
It would just be nice if the sheriff and they would bring it to me and just kind of explain what they're wanting to do, but that's okay.
But I mean,
That's a different
it might even bring a whole new picture to what,
I was never approached or even asked, so that's fine.
okay, I'd like to table it until the council can look at this
Do their
and have,
budget.
and do their budget and have,
And then revisit it.
speak with
Because
Alan.
we need to, what we really need to do is establish a plan of replacement.
That they need,
And
these four especially.
put some parameters in there, how we're gonna fund it, how we're gonna do it, so that that's put in place for future years. I have a motion to table it until the budget sessions are over.
Make a motion,
I'll second that.
because I don't know what the council, I don't know where the money,
But I guess my thing is I'm not trying to be, but I was told to come here to get permission to even get rid of these vehicles.
and you did the right thing.
Okay.
We're just tabling it. We haven't made a decision.
No,
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
2-1. Table it.
Do my stuff.
Yeah, I'll do your. Next. I'm gonna do this.
You gonna
Next
read my
item
stuff?
up is health claims in the amount of $101,906.44.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Dental claims in the amount of $106.41.
Make a motion.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Vision claims in the amount of $122.13.
I'll make that motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Life insurance claims in the amount of $1,447.10.
I'll make that motion.
The motion, do we have a second?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Sheriff's third quarter pension claims in the amount of $31,214.50.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Judge third quarter stipend in the amount of $1,345.61, and I do have one question. That is the $5,000
Yes.
additional?
Mhm.
And does the county budget the cost for Social
Social
Security?
Security.
So that's included in that? Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. Do I have a motion for the judge's third quarter stipend?
Yes.
And a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Who was that? Sorry, I was,
Me.
you were first.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Payroll for 7/29/2024 in the amount of $188,997.12.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
7/29/24 payroll with withholdings in the amount of $43,837.44.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Claim docket for 8/05/24 in the amount of $292,041.58.
291.
What did I say, Chris?
Where we at?
292? 291. 04158.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next item is the true roll proposal that we had at our last meeting, which dealt with collecting or someone to review the different credits that have been applied to
Property tax.
property taxes.
Outside of the state, outside of the county, state level. It'll search other states.
Yeah. Now, after that was brought up, as is always, I've got several concerns were expressed to me. One of them is they were a little concerned about potential identity theft and what would be protected, because some of these big databases collect all this information the next thing you know, they have a breach, and then the next thing you know, everybody has problems. Now, that was a concern expressed by a citizen to me. One other area that was questioned is, I know you're sending the letters out currently, and if the letters don't come back clarifying, then in 2025, for instance, a homestead credit would come off. Okay. But if this true roll found them outside of these ones you've identified, then they could go back 3 years and try to collect the money.
We control that. We control what findings we're going. So if we find, right now what we're doing is going through files and doing a full audit, like going through every single file. And if we don't have the proper documentation, then we're sending them a letter. And then they have till December 31st of this year to respond, bringing in the proper paperwork, which most of it is your last 2 years tax returns, or if for
Depending on
the
what
circuit
they're
breaker
claiming.
or that. If they don't respond by December 31st of 2024 for our audit, then for 2024 pay 25, it will be removed.
Okay, but then was the comment. If the true roll finds someone that was not to have received a homestead credit, they would potentially try to reclaim 3 years worth of underpayments. If your office sends a letter out, you're not going to try to reclaim any payment.
Right now, we're cleaning up where I don't feel audits have been done in the past.
Okay, I got that.
So-
Are you going to try to reclaim any of this money?
No, right now,
Okay.
we've got people that have come in for homesteads and that we haven't had the proper homestead deduction, and they're worried that it's gonna come off right now. I'm like, no. If you provide me the paperwork, you're good. But if you come to find out that what this is gonna do is look at people who are claiming homesteads in Florida and here. There's where we're not gonna be able to find that. I'm not gonna be able to find out if someone's claiming a homestead in Indiana and they're claiming a homestead in Florida.
But the question then becomes, is equal treatment under the law? And Andrew, maybe you can explain this. Because if the county decides to give anyone that received a homestead credit that shouldn't have received it and takes no action, then we hire a vendor that goes back 3 years and asks for payment. We're treating two different entities in equal. They're not being treated equally. And does that then present a problem? Or if we go with true roll, we have to have consistency. This is what was brought up to me. If someone should not have received homestead credit, then whether the auditor finds it or true roll finds it, the same actions occur.
The only difference is I can't look outside of the state level. I can only look to see if you have a homestead in Spencer County and Perry County. I can't look outside. I don't have the tools to look outside. So I see the point there, but true roll, yes, that's what they will do. If they find something, if they find that, they will go back 3 years.
And see, they could also do the local work here too also, right?
They could, but
Yeah.
we're not doing that.
But see what happens then, and I had a constituent that asked me, so in essence, if I received a letter and I don't respond, I've effectively received at least 3 years or whatever that period of time is of underpayment of taxes, and there's no consequences. Whereas if True Roll finds me, I could in effect have to pay 3 years worth of my taxes that I should have already paid, and I would have to pay. And so it's just an equal fairness issue.
I do get that.
And then I also had ones that said, and I looked it up, and am I correct, Andrew, if there was some fraudulent act involved with securing a homestead credit, you can go beyond 3 years back. If they came in and, for instance, used the wrong social security number, used something that's inaccurate on the form, then it actually, and maybe they've collected this for a period of 10 years or something to that nature, you actually could go back farther than 3 years if it was fraudulent.
Yeah, if it was fraudulent, it would assume be a criminal act, which would fall into statute of limitations. So I think for felonies, that would be like closer to 5 years at that point. So yes, that would be on the criminal side, something different. But in terms of whether True Rule finds some people and doesn't find others, and is that equal or not? I mean, it's the policy of the counties for everybody to do it, and True Rule just happens to find out you're not targeting any certain entity, you're not targeting certain people. It's just an error process, not the law. Like if your law was like, Cannleton gets, we're not going to look at Cannleton, we're going to look at Tell
Right.
City or whatever.
Right.
That would be an issue. But if it's just an error of, I guess, diligence or finding those people, I don't think that would.
So what we had, you weren't at the last meeting, they came in and the county, and correct me, Chris, if I'm wrong on some of this, the county identified 322 parcels or individuals that they thought may inaccurately be receiving a credit. So what they did was they mailed them a letter, and then if there is if some respond and say, no, I'm due it, come in and get corrected, whatever needs to be corrected. But if they do not respond, then what they were proposing for the 2025 year, they would take the credit off and they would start paying without a homestead credit or whatever the credit would be. Okay, that's what
Most
they
of
were
ours were
proposing.
circuit breakers though. Most of ours were the 65.
So in essence, that group would have no consequences for the fact that they received a homestead credit that they weren't due for a period of time. Then True Rule was going to step in and take a look at it. And those 322 identified people or parcels would not be subjected to the True Rule review. And there wouldn't be any consequences as far as payments are concerned. So you're taking a group of people that's being identified and saying, you will not be subjected to potentially paying 3 years of your back taxes due. And if True Rule catches you, you will have to pay the 3 years back. So it's just how it's being proposed. That's why that was the concern expressed to me.
I'm pretty confident with the audit that my office is doing. I think it's very thorough. I don't know if statutes have changed in the past. A big thing that we did notice, and we've really been trying to let people know that this is not a bad thing, but we've had a lot of people over 65, this over 65 circuit breaker. It is actually income based. It is not just when you turn 65, you get this. And when we went to audit these files, which to be honest this year is the first year we've really engaged in a lot of these thoroughly, and they should be done annually. We found out that there was no income documentation. I don't know if maybe statutes have changed. In the past, I've never looked into that, whether once you turn 65, you got it, and now, but currently it's income based. So we've had to send a lot of over 65 letters out, and people are coming in and they're like, so I have to show you that I'm 65? And I'm like, no, that's not it. It's income based. We need your last 2 tax returns. So a majority of those are that. Lisa's coming here too. A lot of them too is with these homesteads. Homesteads, you only can have one. And we've had a lot of people where they're married and they're keeping them as one's in one name and one's in another name. Once you're married, you can only have one. And just a lot of cleanup stuff. And we can handle that. I'm very confident that I just have went and I've heard True Rule, and I'm not. I've heard at these conferences that they're helping, there's 10 counties that have started, and they're actually finding them a large amount of money. And so I just thought, well, if it's not going to cost the county anything and we can look and clean up things outside of our level. For me, the reason why we're not going back 3 years is because I feel a lot of this is error on the county's part of not auditing these and checking these. So that's why we're doing a full-blown cleanup this year. And I can say that Lisa Eckers has headed that up and went through every single file individually, spent a lot of time on it, and that's where we're at. If we don't want to do the true roll, I'm completely fine. I'm just saying that this is another way to clean up things outside of the information that we are able to dig into. And I do understand that, but that true roll going back 3 years, and myself right now in our audit not, because I don't feel that all of this lays on the residents of Perry County. It might not have been done properly before. Like I said, I'm not saying it wasn't done properly before. Maybe state statute has changed, but it basically looks that a lot of people that just when they turn 65 got it, and Lisa can correct me if I'm wrong on that, because we don't have income information.
I think that the 65 is minimal compared to the homestead credit. The homestead credit puts you in a 1%
Correct.
rate. If you don't get the homestead credit, you're at a 2% rate.
How many homesteads did we have, Lisa? Do you recall?
I would say it was over half.
Over half were homestead. So let's just do a round number, 160. And in essence, once you get your credits and everything in place, it could affect, even in a minimally priced home, your taxes by $1,000.
Absolutely.
So if we have 160 homesteads for $1,000, it's substantial money. And what has happened is anyone that actually is paying their taxes has had a tax rate increase because of the underpayment of these homestead credits. And I do understand, as things occur, someone passes away in the family, these are not tax professionals, they just pay the taxes and don't consider it. But I think there's also a fairness to every taxpayer in the county that writes that check to us, expecting equal treatment of all taxpayers.
Absolutely.
And that's why, I think we need to look at the 3-year look back on all of
On
them,
all of them.
Because we're asking the other taxpayers that aren't getting the credit to pick up the tab for the ones that
So you're
are.
saying that anybody that doesn't provide the information by December 31st of 2024, we should go back 3 years on them as well.
You should look back. You should look back at the situation and say, do you actually look at them and say, should they have received the homestead credit? And if the answer is no, or you're going to have to ask them to come in, there's a procedure you follow to do this. And then they can come in and they say, here's why I'm eligible. Okay? Then
Have
it's
you had a
over.
lot of that to happen, Lisa? Where people come in and talk to you about their homestead
Correct.
credits?
Yeah. Must come to- I
Yeah.
say, come to the
Because
meeting.
we can't hear you, and then the lady that does our minutes
Yes.
gets upset with us because you can't.
Yes. There have been people who have come in, they've even said, I previously filled out one of those forms. I don't know if it's got misplaced. I actually just had one just now. It just came to the office. So in cases like that, they said they filled one out. We've misplaced it. So those people there, of course, you wouldn't go back 3 years. I don't believe.
Right.
No, it's just the ones that.
Just a
But there have been
paperwork.
people who
You're
have
looking
come
at the
in.
ones that purposely have more than one homestead.
And they in turn have occupied the house. It's a primary residence. It's not a rental. It's
Right,
a,
right.
I'm okay with going back on the homesteads if we need to, but the 65s I'm not, because we have no proof that, and Lisa, you
well,
can-
that's a lot,
That's a
but
lot
that's a
different on that.
$3,000 exemption if I remember correctly.
Over 65 is 14,000.
14,000.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm off on that. 3,000 is mortgage.
It
We don't
wasn't,
have that
that got rolled
anymore.
into the homesteads
Okay.
automatically.
There's no
yeah.
mortgage
Okay.
exemption anymore.
So,
But there's a lot went out for homesteads and we haven't got responses back.
Right.
Yeah.
So those definitely are.
so we potentially, depending on the value of the property, could look at some substantial funding. So,
Mhm.
Yes.
and basically, they haven't been paying the property tax like we ask everyone else to do.
And again, we're still currently looking at the files again here, so it's not totally finished looking at all the files yet.
Right.
It's very time
It's gonna take a
consuming.
while.
Yeah, it's very time consuming.
It's very much of a detective work too. Digging in a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
Can you get a copy of this, the proposal from True Road?
True. Mhm.
Exactly what they do and how, because I think the identity theft is a
I'll ask them
concern.
about that, yeah.
And then how they would approach this, and maybe they become the ones that, if they're the professionals and know a quick, easy way of doing it, it might be something we want to consider to let them chase down the homesteads.
Okay.
And if they can do it faster, more efficiently, and
So you wanna table this until,
until she gets that
I'll get more
document.
information for the 18th or the 16th
If you can
meeting.
get it, I'd like to
Yeah.
read it.
And like I said, I'm good with that. I just don't want to go back on the 65s because I don't feel like that has been.
I get it, and a lot of that, I think, for years, and they didn't realize it was income-based.
Right.
So.
Right.
I don't want to have to look at everybody's personal.
Yeah.
Tax records.
Thank you, Lisa, for everything.
thank you, Lisa.
Okay, I'll get you guys that information at the next meeting.
I'd entertain a
Okay, thank
motion to table this.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Annual review of all county contracts, and that's yours, Chris. You're proposing this, correct?
Yes. Here's another cleanup that I want to start getting organized with. There's a lot of contracts that are out between different departments and vendors, and not necessarily the auditor has copies of all of those contracts. Starting July 1st of 2024, it was passed that we have to upload all contracts Gateway through Department of Local Government Finance. I want to get organized with this. I kind of want to also get to where we're reviewing as a county at the commissioner level contracts every October, because I think a lot of contracts are set to automatically roll over, and that's perfectly fine, but then we kind of forget about them, and then we get to this point where we've got a contract from 1995. So I think that we need to start an annual review of all the contracts. This will also help with making sure all of our contracts on DLGF are up to date annually. I think it's going to cut down on a lot of calls to the auditor's office, which I personally don't mind at all. But we have a lot of calls for contracts, ordinances, and stuff like that, where people will have that at their fingertips now as far as the contracts on DLGF, and we can route them there. Not that I don't mind getting up and getting a few steps into the filing cabinet and dig out that, but it'll be easier for people. So this is just kind of wanting to get your guys' okay or support to reach out. I'm going to plan on reaching out today, if at all possible, if you guys are good with it, to all the department heads to make sure I get paper copies in a spreadsheet of all of their contracts. And then I can put all that together and basically get a system more organized with our contracts, because currently right now it's not.
This is a state requirement.
Very much so, yes.
Do you have any idea how many, ballpark figure how many contracts there is?
I have absolutely no clue.
There's a bunch, and I look at those things and I question, are we getting overlapping coverage?
Mhm.
I mean, and that's what's so confusing about it. This vendor's doing for this vendor's doing for that.
Mhm.
They'll include them, and then you think, well, who's doing this one? And
Yeah.
it's really
I don't know who's-
confusing. I think it's good.
That's really
Yeah,
bad
that's a
when
good
I don't
idea.
have a copy of them, and I can
Yeah.
ask, an auditor is supposed to have copies. So,
I think
but
that's
this is a good
idea.
thing with the DLGF that we have to upload these now, so we're required. So this is a kind of a forcing our hands to get things cleaned up here. So I wanted to do
So
that.
do we need action on this?
No, I think
No.
you need,
I'm good with no
I mean-
action. I just want to make sure. And then what I would like to do is for the commissioners to set up either a work session or something in October to review all contracts annually.
Once you get all the data collected,
Yeah. that sounds good.
and then you provide them to us, then we'll have a chance to review them,
Right,
and then we can make better decisions.
okay.
Okay, the next one up is Andrew Foster, and He's gonna tell us what he found out at the road.
Well, my search didn't get very far because as soon as I requested title search, the guy that was our lowest bid came back and said, whoa, this is more complicated than I thought it was gonna be. I can't do it, sorry. So I still do have the quotes for basically anywhere from $1,200 to $1,000, depending on the entity, and it was just kind of a range that both of them gave me. I knew we weren't looking to go much higher than 500, so I didn't know if we wanted me to proceed with one of those and say less than 500 is all we can do, because the one I had that I thought was going to work did not.
So Jane, I'm gonna put you on the spot. You tell me yes or no. Can your office actually research this? I know you can't have a legal opinion, but try to find out any information on this road.
You really are.
I am.
But nobody,
Because I
Oh.
think this is over,
Okay,
this is over our heads too,
this is what I wanted to know.
yeah.
Okay, all right. So I have the choice.
Paul,
Before you all make a decision, I'd like to make a request of you.
come up to the podium, please.
Thank you for looking into that. My name is Paul Alvey,
Yeah, because you're.
and I represent Branchville Christian Church. And just to give you a little historical perspective, this is potentially a big issue for us for safety and accessibility to our church. And it's a big issue that this get resolved, because we attempted to resolve in an amicable way with all the neighbors so that they were aware of their potential access and our rights as a church and the property owners. So it's a big deal on how we move forward as far as expanding the church in the future. There are just lots of issues, but the primary issue being safety for the entire church. And we've reached out in good faith to make sure that was, we initiated that and continue to initiate that. But we're really concerned about the potential outcome of this, because it could have a severe impact, negative impact on us if this thing weren't legally resolved. And I'm going to ask you all to take whatever steps possible and necessary to get us as much information as you can possibly provide to us so that we can move forward with a reasonable and amicable resolution.
One of our challenges, Paul, is whether the road is actually a county road. And this is one of our, and I think the church issue and the rest is probably outside of our pay grade.
Exactly.
But we're questioning whether that is a county road, whether it isn't a county road. If it is a county road and it becomes the sole access to the back property, then the county needs to address the condition of the road.
Absolutely.
So first thing we have to decide is whether that road is actually a county road.
Agree. And we're holding on you guys.
That's why
we have the attorney looking into it.
So I'm gonna ask you, even if it bumps up to a little bit extra money to do that, the outcome of this is pretty.
Right, we just need to
significant.
determine the actual
Right.
Absolutely.
road.
Yeah, plus it's either is or it is, and if we're maintaining it,
Exactly.
that's not good. But if we're not maintaining it, it is, that's not good. So, yeah, it's a shorter road. It's a
I know it's not very long at all.
but it's pretty pivotal for the folks that, we have a growing, thriving church with lots and lots and lots of young folks there. So we just want to make sure that we're taking the next prudent steps to make sure that we're aligned to grow and grow in a safety, in a safe way that enhances that area and nurtures a good environment for the entire neighborhood and community out there.
It's good that your church is growing.
It is. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful.
We're trying to find out about the road,
Come visit us.
and it just,
Sunday morning, 9:30.
You can actually visit that road any day of the week.
But Sunday is just a little extra special. So, all right, thank you.
Thanks,
thank
Paul.
Paul.
So Andrew, what's the next guy up? What are we looking at?
One entity gave me a range of 250 to 1,000, said it would probably be closer to the 500 mark, but that was the range. And then the other was 1,200 to 1,500.
What do you guys think? Go to the up to $1,000 guy, try him? and
Yeah,
see?
Yeah, if that don't work, go to the next one.
Yeah.
We need to get an answer,
Yeah, we do need to answer for this.
so we know.
I'll go with them then.
You need a motion on that, Randy? Probably should.
Yeah, probably.
I'll make that motion to go with the
I'll
$250 to $500 person.
We have a motion to authorize Andrew to go up to $1,000
Yes.
to determine road, whether it actually is a county road. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Okay, the next item up we have is, and I put this on here, we are needing to bid because of the dollar value. It's the new internal equipment for the inside of our ambulances. And it's all put together. I just want to get your approval to advertise it. Hopefully, by our next meeting, we will have bids in and we can award it. It's kind of specialized equipment that is unique to the ambulances.
And this is coming out of ARP funds.
ARP funds is where it's coming
I'll
from.
make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and I'm looking here at 22 at the bottom here. I think our next meeting is the 20th. So we'll advertise and accept bids on up to the 4 o'clock on the 20th.
22nd is the council, sorry.
So that's the way we'll put it out, and I'll get that done today.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of?
Aye.
All right.
The next thing is, and I didn't get a chance to look back at this, but originally we were approving two amounts at a commissioners meeting. I thought we approved it. It was $25,000 for the coroner and also $30,000 to be set aside at ARP funds for audits. The federal government will audit us, and it was $7,500 estimated
We did.
per year for 4 years. And I thought we had voted on it and approved it, but Chris said she couldn't find it, so we're just gonna go through the process again, approving that $30,000 set aside for
I'll make a motion.
the audits, the federal audits.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Then the next item we have is the Perry County Economic Development Affidavit. We have done this in the past. There is a monitoring company that they currently have a contract with that monitors the site, and it's actually west of the boundary, and I think maybe in Troy also. But what they do is monitor for erosion, weeds, and things of this nature. It's an environmental thing. And we need to sign this affidavit in order to pull bond funds out to pay for it. That's what it amounts to.
5,600.
5,600, Chris says.
What it is. Put that right here.
Do I have a motion to approve the affidavit from Perry County Development?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item up is the ambulance service has requested an appropriation transfer. They have used nearly all of it, or all of it, out of our set aside for subsidizing the service, and we're halfway through the year, so I don't know exactly where that's going, but we set aside funding for like fixed items, and they want to transfer that from fixed items into the subsidy account.
To do what?
To further subsidize their cost of
So,
operating the service.
I had a phone conversation with Kayla. Actually, it wasn't with Kayla. It was with, I think her name's Megan. And they have spent all of their 275, like Mr. Cole said, and they have $30,793.75 left in their equipment line item, and they're wanting to transfer that to ambulance services instead of doing an additional appropriation for ambulance services.
This is a work in progress.
Yeah.
I've got to visit them because we have got to get to the point where we're halfway through the year and they've expended all of the subsidy.
Yeah, that's, if I could see something,
Their P and Ls, I would like more detail on their P and Ls. Where did you come up with those numbers, or where did those, because, as a business owner,
and this will
Yeah.
drain it.
Well, we'll be out of money after.
they're
this.
already out of the 275. The
Okay,
275,000. This was a conversation, to be honest, they forget about this 35,000 every year. Last year, they didn't spend all of it. And so I actually brought this up. I said, you don't have anything
I
left.
remember that.
I said, in this phone conversation, I said, you don't have anything left of the 275. I said, but you still do have this right under 31,000 left. And I told them, I said, you guys forget about this every time. I said, and this is kind of frustrating because you guys, when you're allotted money to spend and you don't spend it. That's just, and then you come back the next year and it doesn't carry over from year to year. If you don't spend that, that doesn't mean you have an extra 35,000 the next year. It goes back to zero or whatever was budgeted that year. So
that balance would go down to zero, and that'd be the end of that
basically they've expended every penny that's been
for the whole,
allotted to
and
them.
they got what?
I know they're at a point where I actually suggested this, because I said, if you're not going to spend this on equipment and you didn't know you had it, then let's transfer it over there instead of doing an additional appropriation.
If they done went through $275,000, I don't know how 30,793 is gonna.
It is again, this is a contract that was actually, the original was drafted in the 80s. And it'll be on your list.
Uh-huh.
And it really needs
To be
reviewed and some details put into it because it is lacking. So,
And if they're forgetting they got it every year, something,
well, this has to do, for instance, if they needed a cot
yes.
or if they needed something that's, equipment related, they would have the funding necessary for that.
I feel like the ambulance service budget is more than the equipment one. So, if we don't do this, they're going to come back with an additional appropriation.
Well, they'll probably do that anyway.
Probably will.
Yeah.
But
So this is
They'll have
one
to
of our
before the end of the year.
challenges.
But this, I can go ahead, if you guys, so this is basically this is out of your guys' budget. So then it would go to the council at their meeting on the 22nd as a transfer. I would be able to pay out I would be able to pay out that amount until they needed an additional. In the last 2 months, 1 month they had, and that's where I don't understand either, where we go to where we only have 1 or 2 months where we're positive on the P&L. Because they had a positive in May, and we paid out the last $1,800.
So
on
the
August
options
5th
here
claim
is
budget.
approve this for this 30,793.75, or let them come to us for an additional appropriation, correct?
Correct.
This is already appropriated though.
Oh,
This is
that's
already
what we have to use
appropriated.
for hospital.
And then this year, we've allocated all those ARP funds, so they probably aren't going to require any equipment this year. That's
And
not
that's-
going forward. These are issues, again, that we need to, no different than the sheriff's vehicles, we need to establish a plan as to how we're going to fund those
And I
things.
think reviewing the contracts annually is going to be a big plus.
Updating the contract, first of all.
That one definitely needs updating.
1985 contract, that's
It's old.
a little old.
Mhm. I just thought I could get them their money quicker if we did this transfer, because if not, I'm not going to be able to pay them until September.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to transfer these funds. All those in favor?
Uh,
Okay. That's it. Next meeting is Tuesday, August the 20th, 6 PM. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I know years ago, made motions to adjourn. You just kept them open all.
On the 20th.